Good morning. How we doing? Hopefully you can hear me there, and there should be a bit of music playing too. But if you want more of either, or if you can't hear me now, please let me know. If you can't hear me, I'm not sure how you'll know that I want you to let me know, but we'll find out. So we're continuing on again today, same app from last time. Working on some Xamarin Forms and Blazor. Good morning, Rod. Rod is in the chat room. Welcome. Can you hear me okay? You got music? You got my voice? Can you see me? I'm gonna hope that's a yes until I hear otherwise. And get into it. So looking at our solution from last time. First of all, here it is on Git. GitHub.com, Lachlan W. Gordon, Melbourne Modern Apps. So feel free to check out the source code. There's the URL. And just as a quick recap, this is an app that I'm making for our meetup that I organised with Rod, who's in the chat now, and Kim, who has been in the last couple of weeks. Hopefully he'll drop in soon too. We run every month in Melbourne. And tonight I'll be presenting on some of the stuff I've been working on here. The app structure we've got here, we've got our core project. This project has the shared UI for our iOS and Android projects. Android projects and iOS projects have very little code in them. They're just kind of heads to let us run that shared UI. And then this Blazor WASM project has all the code that is specific to writing the website part of it. So that's written in Blazor, running in WebAssembly. So that's C# running in the browser. But we've kind of just got the views in this part because all of our view models and logic and models and services are in that core project. So I'm gonna start by running the project from last week just to see where we were up to. I did make a couple of changes off stream. I just renamed some files. Presenter detail page.xaml used to be called items detail page, but I've given that a better name now. Here we go, that's running. We bring up a browser. There we go. So last week we did a little more work on our presenters, and when we click edit, so that's new, we can now edit any of the details of the people. For example, I spelled Kim Philpotts' name wrong there. Save that. Ooh, I've made a mistake here. That's something we're gonna have to fix today. When you edit it and it takes you back to /fetch data. But we changed the URL to be either just nothing after the slash, or I think you can also go /presenters. There we go. So that's a bug that we'll have to fix today. It was working partway through last stream, but we made a couple of changes. So yeah, the main things we did last week were set up that navigation a bit better and added all these material controls. Over on our iOS side, we did some similar things. So the mobile app had started off with the add page. Oh, there's another bug for us. Crash when you click add. Not off to a good start. So you should be able to click add and it will take you to adding a new presenter, or click on a presenter and it shows you their details. So we added the material view to that as well. We also added a few new fields, Twitter, YouTube, GitHub. I think they were all new last week. And if we save that, should take us that with 2 T's in fill pots. Excellent. Let's start by fixing those few bugs we just found before we go into adding any new code. Any questions so far before we get into it? Or at any time, let me know. Or if you want to see me work on something in particular, feel free to guide where this goes. For now, I'm going to fix that bug that when I click add, the whole thing crashed, because that's really bad. So that's going to be in our Xamarin Forms project, on our presenters page, our code behind. When add item is clicked, it will try to navigate to a new presenter detail page. That looks fine. When we construct that new presenter detail page with no item, item is nothing. On appearing, if item is not null, we load the presenter, but otherwise we don't. We're expecting item to be null there. That's our constructor. Click add. Run that. Run that. Okay, wasn't one of those crashes I was expecting. Check our stack trace. Objective-C runtime invalid argument. Reason pushing a navigation controller is not supported. I've done something very wrong. Here I say shell navigation, and I put a navigation page inside that, which is not needed, I think, if I am using shell's navigation page. Let's try that again. Add. Excellent. All right, a bug fixed. That warrants a git commit. Some bad names on items page etc presenter fixed crash when clicking add in presenters page in mobile. And the other bug we found was in the Blazor page. When you hit save, it navigates to the wrong page. So if we look in our Blazor WASM project, presenter detail page, down the bottom we've got a button called save. We've typed submit, so our action is up here on the form. Should have a method down here called submit. So it does the VM validation and save, and then navigate to fetch data. Let's change that to navigate to presenters. The moment we've got 2 different URLs on our presenters page. you can either navigate to slash or to presenters. By having it as slash, that means it'll be the default page, like the index. That is the first page you get to, and then presenters is an explicit URL. The reason I want to have presenters there, and I'm navigating to presenters instead of the slash, is that at some point I might have a proper home page, but after adding or editing someone, I always still want to go back to presenters. That should have compiled. Let's give this a refresh. Edit Kim. Fixes Twitter as well. Did I not compile that, perhaps? Presenter details dot Blazor navigate to / presenters. That's fine. Save that. Run that. Refresh that. Not running yet. That's fine. Edit. There we go. Fixed. We had a git fail. Apparently I'm not allowed to push to my own repo. I wonder if that was just internet? Or if something's gone wrong with my git. Okay, looks like I'm not pushing anything to git today, but I can still commit and push later. Fixed bug in Blazor presenter detail not navigating back to list. Cool, fix those two. Next thing I want to try out is playing around with card view and some grids using Blazor. Rod's just asked, what do I use for my task list? I'm guessing he means as in what things I'm going to do as I progress in here. So far, pretty freeform and doing whatever I feel like. But what I would generally do is create issues in GitHub. So this is an open source project. So if anyone has feature ideas or finds bugs, feel free to add them in here. I look at maybe, where did I put that note to fix Git? Just in my head. And I broadcast it out on Twitch. So probably next time I talk to you, Rod, this evening, you'll say, did you work out what was wrong with your Git? So my system is that you'll remind me. I think it's a foolproof system. So if I want to give some of these extra Blazor things a go, if we give the card view a try first and the grid. So at the moment in we've just got a list here, which is just vertical in that way, horizontal in that way. But in our mobile app, kind of got the face and a bit more like a business card. So I'm actually pretty happy with this for a web layout because you'd generally be on a bigger screen, but starts to look a bit crummy down there. And also I want to see, how do I do this in Blazor? So let's go to my present page. In Razor, I'll still give that list an option, but I'll let people choose between it. So I'm gonna have bool here is card view. And I'll say if is card view. And I'll have a layout. Else one thing I quite like about Blazor that always annoyed me about Xamarin Forms is if I was trying to do something like choose between these two layouts, whether they would be visible, I would have to would usually bind it to a property in my view model, but then putting that property in the view model isn't always going to be relevant. But here I can either say VM dot something and access any of my view model properties, and that's going to be stuff that's a bit more content focused, whereas there is card view is very much a view focused property, and I can put that in the view without putting it in the view model where it means nothing to my mobile apps. So I'm going to have an is card view. Let's have another one of these. Let's use one of those icon buttons. Let's use a list. And instead of having it call a method, I'm just going to go inline and say is card view equals not is card view. Which should toggle between our two layouts with a button with a little font awesome list icon just there. At some point, probably move the list button over there, but for now I'm happy with it next to it. And then not going to need a table at all anymore. And no table body either. Seems a bit silly to have copied all that code. And all I really wanted was a for each loop. Instead of a table row, I'm going to add in a map frame. Map Blazor. No, come on, IntelliSense. Definitely not an iframe. Let's check out our map Blazor. Map card, not frame. Frame's what they're called in Xamarin Forms. I'm going to go for something like this, where I've got a map card that's going to have content. And I'll also have an image similar to what they've got. But their card kind of has image on top and then the details below. I'm going to go for something a bit more like what we had in our Xamarin Forms page. So see how we change that layout. I have a map card. Start off with the same thing as them with a map card content. Everything goes in there. Capital map card. And I'll try out a map card media. Although I'm suspicious I might change my mind and just use an image tag. Probably renders down to something very similar anyway. Presenter dot image URL. headline. Interested to see if these just work out to be H1s through H6 and why I would use the matte ones instead. I'll give that the same class that I've seen in the sample. Demo, matte, card, clean, margin. And then I can just say at presenter dot name. Not going to need any of that. Oh, maybe we'll still need. And I think we can do something like actions. Matte card dot actions. Just matte card actions. Ah, and that needs to be inside my matte card. That makes a bit more sense. Matte card actions. Matte. And then I can just put any buttons in there, and I'll use another matte icon button. My icon edit, same as I had in the other one. And my on click will be the same as I did down there. Get rid of that table row. So I still need a few more fields, but that's enough to see if I'm on the right track. That a compile. And give it a run. We've got a little list icon there. Got a button, got a name. Button works. Something's wrong though. Image URL is fine. Notice in the sample they got wide equals true. Not sure exactly what that's going to do for us. But I kind of left it out because I've got a feeling if it's going to make the image be the full width, that's not what we're going for. Okay, what was the right page? Cool. Well, something happened, but not exactly what I wanted. Wonder if there's something called narrow. Let's see in the documentation. Wonder if there's specific matte card media docs to tell us what properties we can set on that. I think I do want a full width card like this. It's just that I want to make the image stay to the left. I reckon there probably is some built-in way in their cards to get you something like that. But given I want to try out this layout grid anyway, I'm going to give that a go. So it seems to show that we can use these grid cell classes we need to put it in a grid, then a grid inner, and then multiple cells on classes. And then I think I can put my image in one div with the cell, and then the rest of my content, see if I can give a kind of width 2 of cell. So something like a column span 2 or make it wider. So Rod said it's usually in the CSS. So yeah, I could just put CSS directly on that, something like a width request. Do you know, are you saying I just need to add a class to the media? So I've got my circle image class that I've used before. I've got my clean margin class and I've got my table. I don't think any of them are gonna help me out. If I go circle image, that'll probably make it small and circular. See what that does. I think maybe what keeps on happening when I make some changes and don't see it, I have to manually hit Command S to save here before I run it in the terminal. I'm not sure whether I did. If you're working Blazor server side or in VS Windows, you can just hit play and it'll run, but I haven't got that in WASM on Mac yet, but we'll get there. Okay. It's definitely not a circle image, but it's made it a lot smaller. And then we'll need to work out how to put that over there instead. So we could use spans for that, I think, or I think there's something like display equals inline. Rod says, what I'm trying to do is get a site-wide standard for that type of stuff. Gets out of hand quickly. So you're saying when I start putting it in here, so would you then extract that into your own control, or are you just saying you want it in some CSS so you can say class equals the way I always do images sort of thing? So on my CSS is the answer. In my other image, I just put that class circle image straight on an image tag. I'm not really sure if this media content, I'm guessing that's what's giving me that kind of ripple effect. But I don't really need that. I don't know that the map card media is really giving me anything that just a plain old HTML image wouldn't get me. HTML likes self-closing tags for images. I'm gonna give that a go. Sass. Gotta get in on that compiled CSS. Yeah, it's something I'll look into soon. But gotta walk before I run sort of thing. Oh. Ah, that's right. Images don't have something called an image URL. Here it's a source. I've got that card content closing for that div. Now I'm wondering whether that was the fix or whether just compiling now. Cool. Circle's right, but got that all over the place. So I'm going to give one of these Blazor grids a go. So inside my mat card content, I'm going to start with a div with the class of mat layout grid. I'm kind of hoping that this grid can give me all the sorts of things I like to do with the Xamarin Forms grid, because I use that layout heavily in my mobile apps. And then I think I have to have another div inside that. The class of map layout grid dash inner. Then on my image, along with the class of circle image, I can give it the class of a map layout grid cell. And then on this div that has my presenter name in it, I'll do the same. I'm not sure I really need one of those fancy things. I'm just going to use plain old H5 tag. Or maybe H3. Both the same. Chuck in a Twitter handle while we're here. Give it a run. Good morning, YB a Dragon. Welcome. Good to see you here. So at the moment I'm working on some Blazor layout, but this app overall has Xamarin Forms and Blazor together. So I've got this core project where I've got all the code that I can share between the two. So that's my view models and my models and services. That's my Xamarin Forms code, so all the Xamarin UI, Android and iOS project like you'd be used to. And then this Blazor WASM project that lets me reuse kind of all that core code. And I just put a Blazor UI on top of it. And I'm just experimenting with some different layouts in Blazor. And this is new to me. So here we go. We're getting closer. If I look at my mobile app, for example, we kind of got these cards with all the presenters we've had. So it's not for a conference. We have a weekly meetup. Sorry, not weekly, monthly meetup that is organized by me, Kim, who you know well from the Friday streams where I met you, and also Rod, who's in the chat now. So the three of us organize that. So we're three of the presenters, and then, well, we're the organizers, and every month someone presents. So I'm going to kind of build this app out as an ongoing thing, and each month I'll be adding new features to it based on what I learn in the meetup. So this month, the meetup is tonight, so about 8 hours from now or something like that, 6:30 p.m. Melbourne time, and I'll be presenting on kind of this Blazor and mobile app, calling the presentation Blazor for Xamarin Forms developers. So this month I'm doing it backwards and preparing for the presentation live on stream, but if someone else presents, I'll be implementing what I learned for them live on stream in the following weeks. So I've got a beautiful card here that I whipped up in no time in Xamarin Forms, and now over here it's kind of clunky. The list view format is fine, but I want to learn how to do grids and card views. So it's nice that it's given us kind of the mouse overview by default. And I've just managed to get that into a separate grid column to that. But that one's way too wide, and I kind of want that to be over to the left a bit more. And I reckon I want to bring the edit button into there. Or maybe I don't need an edit button at all. Maybe if you just click on it, that should do the edit action. What did we have in the iPhone? Yeah, Blazor scared me a little bit too in that I don't know my way around CSS very well. Like I did a few web projects back when I was uni, but I kind of let most of that fall out of my head and I've been all forms. But yeah, I was like, not into CSS, not into JavaScript. But now that there's no more JavaScript, I've got no excuse except to get into it. So the cards kind of have this action bar built in with the map card actions. But I think I just want that pencil button to be within a div over at the right. So if I make myself another div with that same grid cell class, but instead of those names, I move my icon button in there. And we're struggling with column widths on this screen. Oh, by the way, how's the font size? Can you read everything? If you can't read anything or whatever, let me know and I can zoom things up or turn my volume up or anything like that. So we've got, it's pretty small. There we go. That should be a bit better. It's easy for me to forget working here with two 27-inch screens. But sometimes I'm watching Twitch streams on mobiles and it gets really hard to zoom right in and see what Kim's writing. Slight bit bigger is good. Rod, you're saying even one more? Really hate it when I end up with code wrapping around on lines. I know I can turn that off and just scroll, but there we go. Rod's happy. Surprising to hear that from you, Rod, because whenever I look at your screen, you have your font absolutely tiny. So I know you can read tiny font when you want to. No good. Okay, that should give me the name in big, the Twitter handle and the GitHub URL a bit smaller, and then the button over on the right. Still a couple of alignment things to fix up, I think. But we're onto something good. Oh, I just realized that I made a coffee right at the start of the stream and I forgot to drink it. That's compiled. Give it a refresh. Dragon working from home for the past month, and I only have my single laptop screen. My home machine has three 20-ish inch monitors though. So you're just working off your laptop even though you've got those big monitors? Why not plug your laptop into all them? Lack of outputs or something? Or you want to keep your home machine as your home machine? Getting closer. Don't need that action button anymore. This one still work? Yep. So yeah, I've only started working from home in the past month too, or well, I was always working home a few days a week when I'm on other projects, but with my main job. Security. Yeah. But now working from home all the time, and I prefer my home setup anyway. So happy to be here. I miss hanging out with people though. Where were we up to? Got rid of that. That's there. I want to make this column smaller, and this one bigger, and that one smaller too. So we've got these grid cell. In our documentation, they're kind of saying in our outer level, we've got 3, and then they're splitting it into 2. Or we can use grid cell span. Here we go, this is something we're up to. So in this example, they do a 6, 3, 2, a 1. 6, 3, 2, 1. And then you just go, keep on going in line. You never say that you're on a different row. It's just once you get up to the number 12, it automatically wraps around. Which is quite familiar from when I used to do Bootstrap stuff. Their grid was all based around the number 12, which is a nice number to use because it's so readily divisible. So if I, instead of just having mat layout grid cell here, I add in I think my first one probably can keep the default size of 1. Oh, what happened to my button? I deleted the wrong one. You have any side project on the go, Dragon? Anything fun? Grid cell span of, oh no, that one's small too. That one's small too. This middle one, I'm going to give a span of, well, if I've got 12 total, one on the right, one there, I suppose I'd need 10 for the middle. Oh, maybe let's give 9 in the middle. 2 on the left, 1 on the right. See how that looks. Bootstrap will not support IE10 and IE11. Excellent news. I know that that's maybe horrible news for some people who have to support those platforms. And in one of my jobs, I do have to support the old Internet Explorers. Although the way Edge is moving, they're doing a really good job of dropping that enterprise reliance. So like there's a long history of enterprises would say only IE, and now that means that they're stuck with a whole lot of applications that supported IE and not other things, so they can't get rid of it. But in the new Chrome-based Edge, there's an Internet Explorer mode, which will put you in that IE11 mode for if you want, if you've got websites that only work in Internet Explorer, but you can have the modern Chrome for most things. So if you know anyone in the enterprise IE department that still has Internet Explorer on them, tell them to get the new Edge. Tell them some guy on the internet said it was a good idea. Good morning, Amit. Thank you, Amit. I'm working on an app for our Meetup. Amit's another member of our Meetup. Amit, you haven't presented in a while, although I did see you present up in Sydney recently. But I will get you in this list of presenters due once it's up and running. Just working on a mobile app and a Blazor app, sharing as much code as possible. And I'm learning how to do Blazor grids, and as you can see, I'm not very good at them yet. I forgot the word span. Let's see, Dragon's working on a dribble design. Haven't made much progress on it. After work, I normally just want to hang out and play games with friends. Yep, fair enough. Watching Kim work on his gerbil designs is a lot of fun, and it's inspiring. Watching along, it's kind of, oh yeah, that all makes sense. But then some of the stuff he does when I go to do, I'm like, I have no idea any of that animation stuff. Practice makes perfect, I guess. Come on, little .NET compiler, you can do it. Something happened. So it's feeling better than it was. I'm going to need to get some images there. The ones with no image look a bit dodgy. Maybe I need some placeholder. Or maybe I should just go find those 3 more Twitter images. That text wrapped around, which kind of suggests to me that my numbers add up to 13. 2 plus 9 is 11. Maybe I could give that a span of 1. Maybe that default behavior. That's on an image. Yeah, we've got our inner. We've got an image that I've just given a span of 2. Our text area is span of 9. And this map button should not be inside a circle image tag. Don't know what's going on there. Let's see if I can move that class straight down onto the icon button. Flatten my layout. Give it another run. Got a good feeling about this. Flip it. Here we go. Kim at Kim Philpotts. GitHub URL and an edit button. Alrighty, thanks for dropping in, Dragon. I'll probably stream through another hour or 2. Hopefully see you again then. If not, probably see you Friday or this evening. If you're still awake at 6:30 p.m. Melbourne time, come join us on the Melbourne Meetup. I'll chuck the link in. Now that we've gone all virtual, no need to be Melbourne only anymore. There's that link if you want to come along. Have fun playing with your kids. Cool. So we've got Twitter handle, GitHub, edit button. I reckon if you click anywhere here, it should take you to the edit page. So I wonder if a map card can have an on click event. Do the same thing. In which case I probably don't need that at all. But what I might think about doing is, let's see if there's a Twitter icon. And then if I make an open web page and pass in presenter.twitter handle. Wonder if we've got IntelliSense to add a handler. No, we don't. I need to tell Matthew Robbins about these. Get him to fix all the little things about VS Mac that I don't like. To make my Blazor dev as easy as he has done for mfractor. So we've got that one takes in a presenter. This one will just take in a string URL. Open Twitter new tab. Don't actually know how to do that in Blazor, but I'm sure we can find out. Because usually I just use Navigation Manager Navigate to and have that URL there, or you just put the local URL on your nav link. But I want a separate one. The name Open Web Page does not exist. Sure doesn't. The other thing for me to think about is whether I actually want this in a command that can run everywhere for my Xamarin Forms and my Blazor code. And then I know that in my Xamarin Forms I'd be using Xamarin Essentials for that. I think I'm going to start working on implementing Xamarin Essentials for Blazor so that any of the calls in there can be shared across them. And then once I build up enough of the functionality, open a pull request, see if I can get it official. Cool. Edit button's gone. There is an icon there. Apparently Twitter isn't the name of a Font Awesome icon, but clicking on that works. Let's see if there is a Twitter icon. I thought there was, but maybe there's a kiwi bird icon. Maybe it's the material icons that have all the different kind of socials built in. Material icons. Sure, one of these used to have all those kind of social media icons built in for Twitter and if they're not already in a font, I probably can't be bothered adding them. I'll work out some way at some point, but otherwise I've got to bring in pictures. What if I just search font awesome Twitter icon? Yeah. FA-Twitter. Back in my Matt Blazor documentations on icon button. Simple use with font awesome icons or with a ref link. So we can say favorite. We say FA dash something. So I guess these built-in ones are probably the material icons, and then I have to say FA. Oh no, here they've got map icon button. And then instead of using icon equals favorite, I put an I tag in there instead. Interesting. I'm going to get rid of that icon equals Twitter. Split this tag out to 3 lines. And instead of FA GitHub, I'll say FA Twitter. Find out if it works. And then if it does, we might as well add on the GitHub and YouTube, because I think we might have quite a few of those other ones as well. We saw that they've got GitHub. Awesome icons. Here we go. So yes, we've got a few different Twitters and hashtags. Got a bunch of different GitHubs. Got YouTube. Bet you they've even got something nice for a blog. One of them can link to their blog URLs. Or maybe just some kind of website icon. That work? You know what, I'm sick of changing to list view. I'm going to give that a default of true. Now that's moved that right out into the middle. And I've lost my button. That's not right. Let's see what I've done. So I got rid of the icon, put in an I class. Aria hidden. No idea what that means. See what happens if I get rid of it. Pulling in their sample. Still broken. I do FA. Did I? In their sample close, they just say Meta icon button, and then they put an I tag, which is what I did. Or they say with a ref link. Ah, link. I was about to wonder how we do that. There, they've got an example. And here, instead of referring using the class, they use a mat icon with mat icon names dot touch app. Wonder if we've got that class or if whether that's part of. I reckon we probably do have access to it. Let's see where that got us to. Oh, have I been editing the wrong code? Oh no, yeah, that's right. Cool, got our cards. That is not the right icon though, that's just a little dash. Just to confirm we're back to how our code's meant to be. I'll start running that and then I'll start trying this other way of doing it. Where we take a mat icon. Mat icon. At mat icon names dot mat icon names dot now I've got IntelliSense to give me a bunch of them. Dot on the wrong side somehow. Cool new thing, part of mfractor lets you mouse over and see your icon, but we haven't got that in Blazor yet. Uh-oh. There's a big list of our possible icons. Icon names. I wonder whether my problem with the font awesome was that I need to include it as a link explicitly. So back to having our edit button. give that a run. And what do we got? Okay, not the icon we want. With a ref link. That icon, no, that's not it either. Favorite border. I wonder if this Blazor fiddle works. Sometimes they do, but I've found a few of them don't work. So the idea, it's meant to be like Try.net or any other fiddles, but it's pretty complicated what it's trying to do if you think about it, in that you write your Blazor code here, you've got your startup class, you've got the HTML that it will generate, and then it shows you what it should look like. Some kind of error there. So what it has to do when you hit run is not just display you some CSS or something. It needs to run a full .NET program, kind of compile it in the browser or maybe on a server, and then run it in the browser as well. Which is just amazing that it's even possible, even if sometimes it doesn't work. So here they've got their WebAssembly.js, that's fine. They've got jQuery. They've got Hopper, don't know what that is, and they've got Bootstrap. But they haven't used any Font Awesome. Wonder if anyone has an easy Font Awesome Blazor sample. Apparently I need some JavaScript and the Font Awesome minify.css. If I look at my www root, got Open Iconic, which is the font that comes inside Blazor. Let's look at what that is. If I open that with Font Book. Just got to log in and log out. It's a pretty boring icon set. Yeah, maybe I'll leave the Twitter URL, the Twitter image for another day. Let's see, where... That was a bit of a diversion that led nowhere. Oh well. Just gonna get rid of that button altogether now that we've got... Good morning, Kim. Welcome. You missed him, but Why Be a Dragon, who I met on your stream, who you know well, who I think you recommended my stream to him last week, dropped in before, but had to run away to play with his kids, but I think he'll be back soon. And I think Rod's in the chat room too, so he hasn't said anything in a while. Still working on the same project, and I'm experimenting with the map layout grid, because whenever I do web development, I miss the Xamarin Forms grid. Works a little differently, but it does seem to basically do what I want. It's all just based around multiples of 12, which you might have seen if you've done Bootstrap before. And then if you get to a number bigger than 12, it wraps around. So I was just experimenting, trying to put kind of Twitter icon in there using Font Awesome icons. So I've got all the material icons built in, but I couldn't quite get the Font Awesome icons working instantly. So maybe I'll come back to that another time. Stop yelling at me. Oh, am I too loud? don't think I was yelling at you. You said stop yelling at me, monkey. Is this monkey yelling at you? Let's find out. Maybe I've offended Kim. So I now got the switch between list view and that kind of card view. Oh, Rod was yelling at you. Oh, I missed half the chat. Silly me. Yep, I'm here. Silly Rod. Okay, let's get those images in to work out why that goes wonky. Ah, and Amit was in the chat room before as well. Let's get him on our presenters list. In our core project, services presenter data store. Let's copy me. Add in Amit Aiden. With the URL for an image. That'll do for a description. Not very descriptive. I don't know if Amit's got a blog. Let's find out. I think he does. Nothing obvious. I'll let Amit let me know if he has got a blog to put in there. Michael Whitehead is on Twitter, although he doesn't seem to talk much. I think his only content is about the beer mile that he runs. Image URL. Maybe I should just find some kind of placeholder image for anyone who we haven't added in yet. Do I have any images already in my dub group? What's my fav icon? Whoa, beautiful. Let's see if I can use that. Image URL equals fav icon.ico. Maybe that needs one slash. Let's find out. And in case it's not meant to have a slash, favicon.ico. And this works. Might be time to add on, as well as a presenters page, a presentations page. And get some navigation between them. Cool. Pretty dull placeholder images, but they work. Interesting to see that this little icon there takes up that much room. If I were the people maintaining Blazor, I'd have the Blazor icon as the default fav icon. Cool, I'm happy with that. Actually, the last thing I want to do is check out how kind of more than one line of grid works. Maybe I'll do that on a different page. I don't really see that really fitting in here neatly. So, added commit to presenters. Added card layout and tried out the map Blazor grid. Alright, time for brand new feature all the way from models, view models, services to views. It's going to look pretty similar. So I'll start with my model, a presentation, just an empty class, which is going to have a public string name, I guess. Do I have a base model or something on here? No, I don't, but I use IDs as strings. Probably need to add a base model at some point. But this is doing me all right for now. We've got an ID, name. I'm going to have a presenter ID on it, so we can navigate between our presentations and our presenters. Let's have a repo URL. And a video URL. Kim, do we upload our Twitch recordings to YouTube or something after our meetups? Should probably start doing that. Or maybe you have already been doing them already and I just haven't been paying attention. Right, and another question about Twitch recordings if you're listening. I've discovered that in my OBS on Mac the past 2 weeks when I've been recording, when I open up those files, they've just got the first frame frozen still for 3 hours. Do your Twitch OBS recordings work? It's alright, I haven't lost them. I've downloaded them from Twitch because I had Twitch recording it for me. But I would like to have the local recording work so I don't have to wait hours while I download something just so I can upload it again. ID, name, presenter ID, repo URL, video URL. That's enough to start with for our presentation. Now let's get our view models and views. Oh, let's do the service next. Add new file, a presentation data store. We'll extend iData store of type presentation. Our models, implement the interface. I'm going to do this very similar to how the presenter store works. Let's see, in my constructor, I've got a seed data method. And don't tell anyone, but I've just got all my data in an in-memory static list. At some point, but maybe not for a month or so, hopefully someone will do a presentation about it that I can use as inspiration. I'll be adding some DI for where you get these stores from, which will also make these a bit better scoped. And then I'll also be adding a Cosmos DB database to keep the data in so that we don't lose it every time we stop and start. So I can steal these few lines. Looks like I need link U. And this time it's going to be presentation. New presentation. ID is just going to be a GUID. Name will be Blazor or Xamarin Forms developers. Let's put a date on this as well. Not date time, date time. I'll just call it date. Presentation. Date equals new date from 2020. What is it? April the 15th. Presenter ID. See, this is where my dodgy pretend database runs into trouble. In that my presenters, my presenter data store, get a new ID every time, which makes my foreign keys kind of fall over. Just like hard code Xamarin. Okay, so now Lachlan will always have this ID. And then I can also give that. Repo URL. You know that. Here's our repo URL. Video URL we don't have yet though. I might just see if there are any Melbourne Xamarin Meetup videos on YouTube. We've got a channel that I ought to subscribe to. And yes, Kim's been uploading stacks of videos. Thank you, Kim. Is my one in there? Brian Davis, Clinton, .NET 5 in the linker was Rod. More Rod. Brian. Mark. Matthew. More Rod. Here we go. App Center. That one will do. There was the Mick one. The MIT's presentation. Xamarin versus React Native. I think that was from before I started coming to the Meetup. I got to better go watch that one. Although, spoiler alert, I've already made up my mind about which platform I prefer. I think if I hit the share button, take some embed code use this source. Kind of got... Okay. So I want to be able to play back the videos within the app or within Blazor. There's the new Xamarin Forms media element control, which is pretty cool that I can use if the video is somewhere that we've got a reference to the actual MP4 or a few other formats. But I don't think YouTube let you do that. So we'll have to find out whether the media element can do it. If not, we can use a little web view and embed that. And then we'll want to do something similar with Blazor as well. But for now, I have a very simple data store. Presentation. This needs to change to presentation as well. Add. I reckon I ought to attempting to rewrite this presenter data store because so much of it could be changed to being generic rather than copying and pasting code that's almost identical. But the reason I probably won't bother rewriting it is that when I add a Cosmos DB proper database behind it, I'm going to have to rewrite it all properly at that point anyway, instead of this basic in-memory data store. But I'm pretty happy with kind of the interface they've set up, which is why I am kind of persevering with working with what's there already. And this is basically just the mock data store that comes with a new Xamarin Forms app. Although I'm not really a fan of having an add and update in here, I think I'm going to change it into just a save method. Put that logic in here for whether so you can just hit save item and it knows in here how to add or update rather than having to handle that in all the view models. I'm all out of order. What have I done? That's my update item. Get items. Should just be able to put a T there and have it work for all of them. Get items is this one here. Cannot make this one async. Cool. That's looking like a data store. You know what? Let's add another presentation here as well, just a couple more. So I make two from me. Then I'll put one of the ones in too, so that they're not all just on the one page. Let's start with just me. I think I've probably got a repo for that one. Back on me. repositories. App sent to client. Private. That's no good. Alright, I'm just going to use the same one for now. So I think I might have to be a bit smart and look at, is this a YouTube URL or is it a real video URL, and decide whether to show a media element or a web view based on that. Cool, got two presentations. Now let's get a view model. Mfractor wizards. MVVM wizard. I'm going to say I want presentations, which is all going to automatically suffix that one with a XAML and a XAML CS. It's going to make me my presentations view model class as well. And in my settings page, I'm going to change my views folder to be views, because that's how I like to work. I've already got that views folder there. I don't remember what namespace I want. I'm going to say views as well because I like them to match. Binding context, I'm going to say initialize my binding context in the XAML. View model project will be in my core. View model suffix view model folder view models, view model base class. Apparently I don't have one set up yet, but I should be using the MVVM helpers one. So now that I've set these settings once, they'll automatically apply each time I add a new view or view model. And I hit generate. Matthew doing his magic. Just need to change that to name. I've been meaning to make a bug on Mfractor about that. We've now got a presentations page XAML and CS in the correct folder. Page is automatically wired up to our view model with the namespace declared. And in our view models folder, we've got a presentations view model. Now, does MVVM helpers base view model? From now on, that's what I'm going to have them all inherit from. And the next time I make one, the wizard should be able to guess that. Now, in my presentations page, I'm going to follow a similar pattern to what I did in my presenters view model. So let's bring that up as well. Cool. Extending base view model. I'm going to have observable range collection of presentations using my models. Rod asks, does MVVM helpers work over Blazor and Forms? And yes, it does. If we take a quick look at James's code, and he's just got one project, and if you look in the CS proj, he targets .NET Framework 4.6.1, Net Standard 1.0, and Net Standard 2. So there's nothing in here that's at all platform specific to do with iOS or Android or Blazor or anything like that. This is just plain old .NET standard code. We can basically ignore that because I don't use it in any .NET framework, but that means you can use it in really old .NET stuff if you want. My apps are .NET standard too, but he's obviously not using any of those new features given that we've got that one there. And if you look at the dependencies, package reference source link, so you can step into it, and system value tuple, which is part of that gives you the C# 7.2 features, even if you don't have a version of .NET with C# 7.2. Prism versus MVVM helpers. Prism does a lot of things. It's got your full navigation, your IOC. So it's a full MVVM framework, which is nice if you want to structure that all the way through. And it works really well with Xamarin Forms and especially on really large apps. Here, Prism does install and run in, and some of the features will work in your Blazor, but they haven't got the navigation service working there yet. And so given, and the IOC kind of gets a bit messy when you've already got your .NET Core IOC running. If you've also then add in the dry IOC, and then you've got two IOC containers running side by side. So given that the IOC gets messy and the navigation service doesn't work, you're kind of bringing it back down to all you're getting out of it is your on-property changed implementation and some commands. And maybe they've also got the event aggregator, which I never really use, but some people love. So once it gets to the point of I'm not going to be using a bunch of the code, I don't really need it in there. What I do need is the observable range collection. I love that. And I want the base view model, which is in here. And as of a fairly recent version of MVVM helpers, which I'm not sure if has hit stable yet, they've got a sync command and command in here, which means I no longer need a dependency on Xamarin Forms. But there's no URL navigation or anything big like that. Can MVVM helpers pass complex objects to navigate to pages? MVVM helpers doesn't do any navigation. All my navigation so far is completely native. So if we look at my presenters page, for example, in my iOS project, XAML CS, no, presenters page, on items selected, I'm just using the shell navigation here. Although that's not all that different. I could, if I wanted to, it's kind of the equivalent of just using your navigation page navigation built in. And then in my presenter detail page, for example, when I hit save, I'm using viewModel.save to do my validation and send it to the model services, put in the database sort of stuff. But then I handle my navigation at the view layer, which people have opinions about, but kind of the philosophy I'm taking with this app, at least for now, is that on different implementations of the app, whether it's Blazor or Xamarin, your navigation may be different, and that's kind of a view level thing. So far, I am doing one-for-one, page for page, but I could easily change it so that editing an item doesn't make a new page. It shows a pop-up instead, but you could still then use that view model. In a different project, I have written a navigation service that is reusable across the two and does allow passing complex objects, but it's kind of big and clunky and I don't like it much. So until I have a better solution, I'm sticking with this model of sticking to native navigation and just passing URLs if I'm in the Blazor page. And if I'm in Forms, I'm allowed to pass complex objects, but then I have to write a view model or view that can work with either. So when I look at my Blazor code, for example, my presenter detail page, when I hit submit on my form, it still calls vm.save, so reusing all that. But then if it saves successfully, it will use the navigation manager, which is just built into Blazor. Amit reckons event aggregator should only be used if there is no other option. Yeah, I can't comment any further. I'm going to trust you on that, and kind of gives me even less motivation to check it out. I've never really used it much. I kind of get the concept, but everything it does, I've kind of always seen another way that I'm happy to work. So, after that tangent, here's my MVVM Helpers Observable Range collection called Presentations equals new observable range collection of presentations. I'm going to have a command called load items command. Amit, what's your problem with the event aggregator? I'm not disagreeing, I'm just asking. So there, when I chose that command, that is the MVVM helpers command, not the Xamarin Forms one. Although I could, in fact, make it an I command from system.windows.input and only choose the implementation later. So I'm actually going to do that a little differently. That gets set, and then, as we can see in the original one, making a new command async kind of wrapped up in there. That's not my style. I'm going to do a new async command out of let's call it load items async. Generate a method. Yep. Private async task. I'm actually going to make this public, and in my Blazor, I'm going to call the method directly rather than the command. That does break the concept of not having them so tightly coupled, but I don't care. As far as I'm concerned, if the view knows there's a method there, you might as well call it explicitly and have the IntelliSense on your side. Load items async. And we've also got, I will make the public constructor visible, although I won't put much in it. Presentations view model. Just going to set the title, which is in my base view model. Nifty little helper James gave me. And this will be called presentations. And while I'm here, I'm going to change that over to presenters. And I might also make this the same way I did it. Yeah, new async command out of execute load items command. Generate method items view model dot async command. New. Causes unnecessary complexity around trackability of your logic. Makes worse if you're calling them from multiple places. Cannot implicitly convert. Public async tasks, do your thing. New async command or execute load items command. So now we're saying an async command is a command, which it is not. If we use the system Windows input I command, both command and async command implement that. There we go. So now I can get rid of a bit of that ugly syntax and complex constructor and put the code exactly where it lives. It does mean it generates a new command each time this is called. So maybe I should use a backing field, but it's going to happen so rarely that I'm not too fussed there. Now, I need a data store from somewhere. And because I haven't wired up my DI yet, I'm just going to new it up right here with a presentation data store. What do we call it in this one? Data store. Data store equals new presentations equals data store dot get items. Now we are going to add in an optional command here of presenter ID. So if you come straight to this page as a full list, you'll be able to see all presenters' presentations, or if you come from a particular presenter's page, you'll be able to see just those ones. Presentations dot add range presentations. So the add range method is the main benefit of, or one of the main benefits of MVVM helpers and the observable range collection over the observable collection. Now that I've put a parameter on that command, I have to use the generic typed async command string. Errors have gone away. I need to be careful because that may well be null. That should be enough to get our data in. Override my on appearing. And this is where I'm going to call VM dot load items async. Is that how I did it in my presenter page? Because I did run into some problems. So I'm saying, oh no, my presenters page, XAML CS. I'm just saying here view model is busy because we're using a refresh view. And the default code in the template would say, if there are no items, call that. I've got it calling every time because when I navigate away and come back, I'm doing a refresh. I'm saying view model is busy equals true. And that will trigger the command because once I've got my refresh view wired up, that will trigger that same command. Nice thing about using Prism, or one of the fully fledged MVVM frameworks, is that you've got some of those events in here, such as on navigating to. Here, I'm just doing view to view navigation. So any items that come in have to be passed from the view to the view model. For example, I want to be able to pass in a presenter ID. And I'll call, is that how you do that? No, it's not base. Anyone remember how you call another constructor in here? I always forget the syntax for this. Maybe someone in the chat room will help me out. If not, I'll go Google it soon. This. I suppose that makes a lot of sense. Yep, excellent. And now I'm going to put that just in a private field on my view. Which isn't ideal, but I want it to happen from my here. So here, if we've got one, instead of using the default view model that's been created already, I'm going to say view model equals binding context equals new presenters view. Presenters view model. Why can't I pass a presenter object rather than ID? I perhaps could, but in my, well, a couple of reasons. I know that this view model is going to be written in a way that will work in Blazor or Xamarin Forms. So I know that the page will only be receiving an ID. And the other, so I'd either need to write my view model so that it can work with either an ID or an object. But the other reason is that on the page that this is coming from, which is the list of presenters, here for example, where I've got a list of 6 presenters, and each of them, maybe they'll have 10. When I loaded these in, there's no reason that I should need to load all of their presentations out at the same time. That'll be getting 10 times as much data out of the database as is necessary. I only want to load it when I click on there. And so, or not on there, when I click somewhere here, go to presentations page, and then, yeah, load in theirs. So, you could have it in the presenter that they know how to get their children. And I know that that is very much the way you like to do things, Rod. But for this, I'm just going to have a view model calls the data service for presentation with and filters out and only gets the ones it wants. No, not. And pass in the presenter ID. String presenter ID this time. Why am I covered in red? Name execute load items command does not exist. was only when I added that, I think. Ah, stray semicolon. So I don't really like putting that field there, but I am. String presenter ID. Presenter ID equals equals presenter ID. Oh no, I'm doing all that in the wrong view model. So that sometimes I will load in with that ID. Now, I'm going to say, if this presenter ID is nothing, check. If this one has something else, give everything. If, say, presenter ID equals presenter ID dot string dot is null or empty. Is null or white space. This one. So if there's nothing there, get my big one. Field. If it's null, get that one. Else, get that one. Now that I've got all the presentations, I've got a presenter ID that might have a value. If presenter ID is not null, presentations equals presentations dot where. So I'm just doing an in-memory filter after I've loaded everything into the view model. But at some point, if this is coming over the network, I'll want to make it faster and do the actual query by saying which presenter it is there. Link you, please. X dot presenter ID equals presenter ID. And that can add range there. Cool. That's probably most of the view model. Let's put a view on it. Content page dot content. We're gonna have, let's see, it's gonna be a pretty similar layout to this, where we've just got a collection view taking up the whole area. Probably later on for both these pages, we'll add a search bar and maybe a filter. I'm just gonna, for now, say the thing takes up, our collection view is gonna take up the whole screen. So I'm gonna have a refresh view as my first child. I'm just gonna have a command on it of finding in my presentations view model. That's my command. Load items command. And I think after the next build, the IntelliSense will be able to find that on its own. So there's that. Now I'm using a collection view. item source, finding presentations. I'm going to have a collection view item template. With a child of data template. And then I think if I say views colon card view, did I make a reusable one or did I just plan on? Rod's off. See you tonight, Rod. Thanks for coming. In my presenters page. Huh. Guess I just planned on turning this into a card. At the moment it's just a frame as my child. Okay. This is a good excuse to extract this frame into a reusable control because I'm going to have a very similar layout here. Using my mfractor code actions, I'm going to extract into a new XAML control called my card layout. In Melbourne Apps, in the folder controls, looks good. That initializes the component. But I think we're going to have some problems with on item selected not existing. But we can generate that. This one's code behind. And somehow we're going to need to get this to trigger an event out in our overall layout. We've got a lot of changes that aren't quite implemented yet, so I'm going to see if this builds and what problems we've got. I've got some half-completed XAML here. In my presenters page, in my Xamarin Forms project, use presenters page.xaml. So that's gone for a controls card layout. I'm gonna have to pass a few things into that, but for now I can just copy that into my presentations page.xaml. Card layout. We're missing that namespace. All right. Let's see if that works. What's our next error? View models, presentation view model is not found. It's looking in Melbourne modern apps.view models, but it's actually in .core.view models. Line 13. Everyone says core does not exist. Oh. Wait, where was that? In my presentations page. Yep, fair enough. XAML. Where does it exist then? presentations view model still can't be found. Melbourne.apps.core.viewModels presentations view model. Where is it then? Presentations view model. Right. Align namespace to path. Another error. Now that I've moved that, and fix that using and it looks like it's building, which is good. We haven't finished everything yet, but our card layout's still there. That's good. When I click on it, I'm expecting a crash. No, just a nothing. Cool. I'm just gonna get myself a glass of water. I will be right back. Here's a good chance to go to the toilet, get myself a snack, whatever. Back in a couple of minutes.
What are you afraid of?
I'm lost in old ways.
I'm not afraid.
Just listen.
Alrighty, I'm back. Nice big glass of water. Where were we? So we've broken that click event. We're gonna have to fix that soon. Which is part of our presenters page.xaml. This card layout now needs an on-click event. Clicked equals. And what have we called it in our over here? On item selected. Now, mFract is offering us two options. We can either generate a bindable property and clicked in card layout or generate a property. Let's go bindable property. Thought I could click there. Generate a bindable property. And now when I go to my card layout class, my XAML CS, we've now got object clicked, get value, set value, on clicked changed. What what matters is we've got this object here, which even though it says it's an object, I know it's an event. So now we can say if clicked is event handler event. That's a keyword. Clicked event. Clicked event dot invoke, passing in the sender and my arguments. I think that should be enough to get it working again. Let's see how it goes. Now when I click on that, still nothing. What's in our card layout? We've got a tap gesture recognizer, on item selected, number of taps required 1. Our event fires, but clicked is on item selected. Which kind of looks like it's just a string. Which means it's not a clicked event. Rather than a bindable property, I'm going to see if I can change that. Just a property given. I'm not actually, you don't bind events, you want to do that with commands. In my presentations page, program source, no, in my presenters page. In the XAML view. See if I just make it. Generate a property. And back in my card layout, let's see what code it's given us. Alright, let's see if that fixes it. Clicked. Still a string. Not quite sure what's going on there. This should work, but maybe what I'll do instead. Still have our card layout. Let's wrap it in a grid. And bring that gesture recognizer out here. Which means that bit of code is no longer reusable, but it does make it a bit more specific. Now that should run. Don't care about that anymore. That one still runs though, even though there's an outer grid. suppose that makes sense when you put a view inside something with a listener. The topmost view would get hit, and that one would be behind it. Cool, we're back to where we were, but we've got some reusable code now. Now on our presentations page, in our view, we can have that same card layout. Some of the things will probably bind. Some of them we're going to need to add as bindable properties. App shell. So my shell currently has the presenters page and an about page. Now let's add a presentation page. Presentations page. Let's fix that title while we're here. Presenters. Presentations. Is that going to hot reload its way in? Yes, it is. Cool. The page is there. You can refresh, but we haven't got any data in there yet, it seems. Presentation page. Presenters page. Presentations page. XAML. Our item source is presentations, which in our view model should be there. Let's see if that runs when we hit refresh. It does not. I haven't set the refresh command, maybe. Set the command, but not the is refreshing property. Presentations page, XAML, refresh view. Run that. And once we've got this running, I think it might be about time to wrap up. It's been going over 2 hours. Sometimes they go a bit longer, but I think that'll do for today. And then the Toronto developers meetup is streaming now, doing some live coding. So not sure what they've got going on, but let's go check them out. Let's rate them in just a sec. Getting close. Alrighty, I'm going to leave it there for today. And we'll finish that up another time. Thanks a lot for coming. A few people who were here before have run away now, but hopefully there's still a few of you here. If anyone's around tonight, please come along to our Melbourne Meetup. I pasted the link in the chat before, but I'll find it again. In the Meetup. I think it's this one. That'll be on at 6:30 tonight Melbourne time. There it is in the chat. And now, I've never done a raid before, but let's find out how it works. I think if I just type /raid, and then if we look at Twitch, oh, I think we missed them. I think they were wrapped up already. Oh, no.
We're so rusty, it's crazy.
I know. I was like, oh, I headshot that guy, and I was like so happy, and then suddenly I just got.
That's a shame. Let's see if there's anyone on the live coders team who we can raid instead.
I guess this mission won't be to get kills or like
Live Coders team is a Twitch team, so there's a bunch of people who are. You can always find someone coding on Twitch. Kim's part of this, so is James Montemagno and a bunch of others. There's no one here who I know, but let's see what they're working on. That one's got some Minecraft stuff. Vim. I think they're just playing Animal Crossing. Not that I've ever played, so I don't really know. Code Show, doing some Rust. That could be interesting. Anyone in the chat know any of these channels? Got any requests? It's like gaming. And a geek. More gaming. An SVG renderer for the Xamarin. SVG renderer for Xamarin. That sounds good to me. We'll raid TBD Gamer. Please stick around and say hello. In 5 seconds, we'll be heading over. So thank you very much. I'll see you next week.
Lachlan W. Gordon, thank you very much for the raid. I appreciate that. Welcome. How are you? How was your stream? My apologies if I savaged your name. What was tonight's stream about? We're going to have using Xamarin Forms and Blazor as much code as possible. Nice. Nice. Well, I am... I've used Xamarin in bits over many